Well, hey, Vision. Okay, who loaded the Vision Church app last week? Raise up high if you got it. Okay, if you did not yet, I encourage you to go to the App Store or to Google Play, wherever it is that you get apps, and go ahead and load that thing either now or sometime during the week. It has very useful stuff on there. Certainly, you get the sermon notes. You can get old sermons. You can go on the event page, like Tabitha was saying. That's really our best route to help you get information and sign up. I think it's got Super Bowl predictions and all kinds of stuff. Oh, is anybody predicting anything? Okay, who's predicting that the Rams are going to win? Okay, who's predicting that the Patriots? We actually do have one in our midst that's wearing a Patriots jersey, but I won't call her out. No, but I do hope you enjoy the Super Bowl tonight, and that it's not on our app, but truly the Vision Church app, we have designed it to try to help you out on your journey. So literally, that's like a life hack, boom, that can help you out. This series called Life Hacks has, yes, been about taking the book of James and pulling applications out of it that can help make our life better, more fulfilling, easier, more effective. I want that on my journey. I know you want that on your journey. So you can either pull out your hard copy takeaway card, or you can pull out your Vision Church app and boom, hit sermon notes. We're going to take a look at the book of James today. And before we go in James, let's take a look at some real life hacks that can help you out. Okay, do we have anybody here who eats fruit like at all? I'm definitely like low on the fruit scale. I need to eat like more fruit. But you know, my bananas, they go bad so quickly. Boom, somebody helped me out. They sent me this. They said, if you wrap saran wrap on the top part of your bananas, they last longer. I said, wow, that's pretty cool, pretty helpful. Somebody else also sent me one of this site that has life hacks from 100 years ago. So this isn't all just like new stuff. This one, you ever get a splinter in your hand, you're like, man, I can't get it out. My wife, Meg, she never lets me like dig at hers. She's such a pansy and stuff like that. But I said, Meg, next time it happens, we're going to get a little glass jar, put hot water in it, and you stick it on there, and literally the heat and suction of that will help pull out the splinter. You're like, wow, man, this is worth coming to church just for that. No, not just for that. Because this last week, when it was so cold, and you get up in the middle of the night, and you go to the bathroom, and you're like, ooh, it's so cold in here. This life hack will help. Oh, man. I said, man, that is it. That might be the best one of the series right there. You're like, okay, Speedy, take a picture of that. We're making this life hack happen. Okay, now, whether you like those life hacks or not, I think you will like today's life hacks as we talk about this concept called wisdom. This guy, James, who wrote this letter, and he was the brother of Jesus, so clearly he had seen wisdom in life form, even though actually we talked about in week 1 that James, he didn't believe in Jesus as the Son of God while Jesus was living. Jesus had to die, come back from the dead, and James said, man, now I believe. I mean, you are not just any other man. You're the Son of God. And the people who followed Jesus, and I mean, it took off like a firestorm. The people that started following Jesus, in large part because of his wisdom. And wisdom, we talk about it particularly in our elementary ministry, that we need to make the wise choice. Wisdom is kind of about like seeing different paths or different options or all these different choices. Say, where do I go? What do I do? Do you have anything going on in your life right now where you could use some clarity and some wisdom? Where you'd say, the job options or the relationship options, or how to parent my kids in a way that is going to really make some sense, or how to deal with this pressure, or how to manage my money. I wish I knew better how to do that. James says, I want to help you with that. And really what he's saying is, God, your heavenly Father, wants to help you in that way. So if you're new to church, you're just kind of like coming back to church and checking it out, you're thinking, God's all about rules, and God's all making it tough, and God's about trying to, hit me for all the things I'm doing wrong. God wants you to live a holy life, and he wants to help you have a healthy life. He really does. So God says, I will help you have wisdom to make wiser choices, and that ties into what Jesus always talked about, the abundant life. Because to me, my life is not feeling very abundant when I'm making wrong choices. My life totally doesn't feel abundant when I say something or do something and I walk away from it and say, man, I should not have done that. That was totally the wrong choice, the wrong thing to invest in, the wrong way to manage my time, the wrong way to manage that relationship. Say, God, I need help with that. Now, today, we're going to do something different too, because we're going to kind of team teach this. I get kind of the first half of this message, and then the second half of it, I'm going to bring up Scott and Meredith Mann from our elementary ministry, and they're going to give you some specialized teaching on parenting with wisdom. Now, some of you are like, hey, man, I need some of that. Let me get ready for that. And some of you are like, man, I don't have any kids, or I don't have any kids anymore. Well, understand, whether you're getting married next weekend and you'll have kids somewhere down the road, or whether you're empty nesters, we all interact either with kids or with people that have kids, and you will have chances in your life, I promise you, to speak into someone's life that's saying, oh my goodness, I'm stressed about my kids, I'm stressed about how to parent them and do whatever, and you say, well, the book of James can help with that. Wisdom can help with that. So when we get to that part of the message, particularly second hour, our teenagers, I'm going to tell them, don't check out, because we all have either the opportunity to parent or to live life with people that parent, and that is one of the main areas of our life. We need wisdom. So I get the first half. We're going to talk about wisdom in the book of James, and I think about how in our society, we face decisions. Sometimes these heavy decisions that weigh us down, and honestly, sometimes we kind of laugh at people having to make decisions. Because did anybody ever used to watch Let's Make a Deal? Because on Let's Make a Deal, they put those 3 doors out there, and you're laughing, and they're like, no, not that one. That's got, this little $5 prize. That one's got the car. Figure out which one to go for. And we look at something like that, and man, it is so much like life, isn't it? Where we face different options and saying, please, God, help me figure out which door to go behind. Or maybe it's a more current one like The Wall. Does anybody watch that? Anybody follow that? I'm not a big game show follower, but from what I hear, people are faced with questions on here that are literally worth hundreds of thousands of dollars if they can make the right or really like the wise choice. My personal favorite, though, and I can't believe Bob Barker doesn't do it anymore, but The Price is Right. Are there any Price is Right fans? Okay, The Price is Right. That was my show, man. Especially they get to Showcase Showdown, and you're like, man, come on, how much for the trip or the car? Or if you get within $100, you win both of them. I want that kind of knowledge, that kind of wisdom. And again, we laugh at game shows, but when you don't have wisdom in a relationship, when you don't have the right wisdom and you choose the wrong job, or you said the wrong thing, you did the wrong thing, and you are burnt, and you are in pain. It's interesting how pain does cause us to consider making changes. And that's a hard one for me to grasp, because a lot of times I'm facing decisions and there's not a lot of pain involved. I say, God, help me figure out what to do. And then sometimes God says, actually, I'm going to give you some pain so that you kind of cling to me more. So I want to encourage us, wisdom is not just in the pain. Wisdom is every day we need it. So as I talk about this for the next couple minutes, I want you to lock in on this concept of wisdom, because James, when he wrote about this in James chapter 3, and Scott and Meredith, they'll unpack the actual scripture of it, but what he's talking about is there's different kinds of wisdom. There's wisdom that if you don't know Jesus, if you don't go to church, if you don't walk with God, that you consult some type of wisdom. We would call that earthly wisdom. And then there's also heavenly wisdom. Now, earthly wisdom, you think about what that looks like for people when they say, okay, you're trying to make a decision about a career? Well, find the one that makes the most money. Find the one that gives you the most power. Come on, son, you want that. And say, well, is that really godly wisdom? Well, no, this is earthly wisdom that says, look out for yourself. Above all else, what's happening in your life? Look out for yourself. Make sure you're taking care of number one. Climb the ladder. How about this one? Don't be vulnerable. If you're in business, man, definitely don't let them see you sweat, or don't let them see your heart, or don't really open up. But actually, God says, no, there's a different side to that. It's called heavenly wisdom. And this earthly wisdom is so much central focused on ourselves and on protection and self-preservation. God says there's a different kind of wisdom. There's really a different measure of success. And I think that's kind of at the root when you think about wisdom, is what will our lives look like if they're successful? Are we letting the earth describe that? Or are we letting heaven describe that? Because this past week, I went over to Southwest Middle School. That's our one of our local outreach partners, the Roadrunners. 2 miles west of us, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And we started a new program there called the Rising Stars. Because we want to help teenagers to define what godly success looks like. Literally pouring into these teenagers to say, think about what wisdom is. think about how you're defining yourself. And so we got some pictures. We went over there, and the best way usually to a teenager's heart is through food. So we took them ice cream. And we had basically like an ice cream buffet for 90 teenagers. They took 45 homerooms, and in each homeroom they picked, the teachers did, 2 rising stars. Not the ones who are at the top of the list or might say, hey, they're 100% students. I said, no, we want the ones that have this momentum where you see something in them. There's an attitude change. There's a commitment change. They're on the rise, and we want to recognize that and bring them in, give them ice cream, and then Rachel Throckmorton, who heads up our team there, and she is like totally with a baby. I mean, it's like any minute she may have a baby. So if you hear something over here on this side of the room, she's having a baby. But we'll stay focused. But she sat there with those students and was talking about what success is. And it was cool because on the bags we gave them ice cream, and we gave them some bags with some little gifts in it. We'd put different quotes on there about success, about perspective, about life, about wisdom. And when I had a chance to speak to them, I mean, I love looking into these teenagers' eyes and thinking about how much life is in front of them, how much living they have to do, and how many choices they're going to face. And I pray for them that they'll have godly wisdom, that they'll truly put as a target on the wall a different kind of success. And I got a couple quotes for you. If you're a quote person, these 2 quotes from John Wooden, one of my favorite guys. He coached basketball to a high level of success, but if you talk to him before he passed, he didn't say it was to a high level of winning, to a high level of championships. He measured success differently. And literally, he had godly wisdom in him that looked at things differently. Look at these 2 quotes. First one, he says, success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing that you made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. So understand, he's not saying success is winning the championship, success is making the most money. It's basically saying, God, what have you made me capable of? Literally, like, what's your vision for my life? And you give it the best shot you can of reaching that. John Wooden said that's success. I believe that's what Jesus said. He said that success is when you become the best that you can out of what God gave you. The second one is about a reputation and character. It says, be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what other people think you are. And with teenagers, oh man, we unpacked this. I said, teenagers, look, I know you're thinking about, have you got on the right shoes? Have you got on the cool jeans? Have they got tears in the right spot? Have you got their hair the right way? Are you saying the right things? Because the way people think of you and look of you, that's your reputation. As a teenager, you think, that's the best. I said, no. If you would have godly wisdom, you would understand that what's inside of you is more important than how people look at you. That what's inside of you, your character, is going to track with you for years, is going to affect your decision making, and that will take you toward a different target of success if you let God shape that in you. So in terms of this heavenly wisdom, what does it look like? Well, Jesus, he modeled this for us in saying it's not self-centered. It's not like that earthly wisdom that's about me. He said this type of wisdom, a heavenly wisdom, is about God's kingdom and God's agenda, which is simply to love God and love people. That's a different kind of wisdom. So where do we find that kind of wisdom? Well, I love the book of Proverbs. It's literally like God said, I'm going to give you like kind of the cheat sheet or the life hack on wisdom if you would spend time in this book. So in Proverbs 14:12, it says, there's a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. Have you ever made a decision, being real here, that it did not have a lot of wisdom in it and it felt like it led to some kind of death? Maybe some person didn't die, but honestly, maybe kind of somebody's feelings died. Maybe a lot of money died. Maybe a lot of pain came through and you felt like you died. He said, I don't want to feel like that. And the writer of Proverbs, when he wrote this, he said, there's a different kind of wisdom. It will lead you down a path to life, not a path to death. So I got 3 life hacks for you. The first one is take the challenge. Take the challenge. You're like, okay, I might be interested in the challenge. It's kind of still new in the year, early in the year. I might take a challenge. Well, here's the challenge. We call it the Proverbs Challenge. And we haven't branded this. This is really kind of Christian community-wide, a challenge in the book of Proverbs to read 1 chapter a day in the book of Proverbs. Any month out of the year. You can say, okay, I'm going to sit down, and whatever day it is, I'm going to read that chapter in the book of Proverbs. And what, for me personally, when I've done this multiple times over the years, I'll read through it, underlining some things, and then I'll circle back to it and say, God, what is the number one thing you want me to take out of this chapter today? And I'll put a date by it, like today's date by it. And then tomorrow I'll go to the next chapter and the next chapter. And you do that for a month. It's cool. God gave you about a month's worth of readings. There's 31 chapters in Proverbs. You could do it. I'd encourage you, maybe 2 different months during your year. You say, God, I want more wisdom. I want to take this Proverbs challenge to gain wisdom. And then over the years, you can look back and see what you read and what you wrote and where you highlighted. I promise you, you will increase in wisdom. If that's the only thing you take away from today is taking the challenge, then you take the challenge. Maybe you start today. Maybe you start at March 1st. Maybe you do it a couple times a year. That's your first life hack. Take the challenge. All right, second is to get a teammate. Get a teammate. This race of life is much harder when we're alone or when we feel alone. We're running alone. I say instead, man, I want to be like, linebackers on the Panthers. And I'm like, man, Thomas Davis, man, he's gone. That was one of my boys, man, on the Panthers. You see Luke Kuechly out there, Thomas Davis out there. And they're like, I got your back. I got your back. I'm down. Okay, get up. Come on, I'll help you. What play are they running? That one. Oh, let's run that together. And they're working together as teammates. Say, guys, on this journey, let's get a teammate. Let's get in a small group, or let's serve somewhere. I was thinking this week about with our Trailblazer team, when they get together and meet and have VIP time, and maybe, imagine, there's like maybe a guy in our church. He's new, and he's like, I'm going to try serving somewhere. Okay, I'll try serving with the kids to give something to the kids. And maybe he's in VIP meeting, and he rubs shoulders with Scott Mann. He's like, oh, cool, this guy, he kind of sees things a little bit differently. Let me try to circle up and connect with Scott and have coffee one day with Scott and get to know Scott a little bit. And then this man, maybe he comes up with a question one day of, man, what's the wise choice? I don't know what to do. He says, hey, I kind of know Scott now. Let me give Scott a call. And he can be like a teammate on this journey. In Proverbs, it says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And I'd say if you're walking alone, it kind of makes you a fool. I mean, I'm not trying to be harsh with that, but God offers you the opportunity to have teammates. I mean, here at Vision, we're telling you, go by the Connection Center and say, I want a teammate. Go on the app and click Next Steps and say, I want a teammate. We'll help you find a teammate on this journey, and that will help you when you face choices where you need heavenly wisdom. I promise you, it'll make a difference. The third life hack, this one can be kind of hard and kind of painful, but it's learning from our mistakes. It's learn from our mistakes. You're saying, okay, one option is take a challenge, one option is get a teammate, and the other one is to sit down and think. I read one time about a guy who said one of the most mature things you can do sometimes is just to stop and think. And if you ponder that for a minute, you think about how much of our day is spent going, reading, looking, talking. I think God is saying to us, sometimes you just need to stop and think about what you just went through. Think about how you just acted. Think about how things went because you said that or did that. And what James is teaching us in his word, and Solomon is teaching us in Proverbs, is sometimes we just need to look back at how we just acted and what we just said and just evaluate how to go. And for me, if I'm being transparent, sometimes I look back, especially my younger days, I look back and say, man, why did I say that way? I didn't think about how that was going to make somebody feel. Now I'm putting out more fires just to get back to level. Instead, I look back and learn from that and say, okay, next time that happens, I'm going to try to react differently. I'm going to try to invest differently. I'm going to try to make that choice differently because I'm actually going to stop and think. And this verse, which definitely in the second service, our students will love this one. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. The boys are like, yeah, man, he talked about barf in church. And like, okay, well, yeah, it's in the Bible. That a dog returning to his vomit, and you're like, oh, get away, that is so stupid. Why are you doing that? And God looks at us and says, if you don't look back at what you did and learn from it, you're just like that dog. that's going back and doing the same things, God says, let's get some wisdom mixed in. You can learn from your mistakes and have different and better wisdom moving forward. So those are your life hacks for me today. You can take that challenge. You get a teammate. You can learn from your mistakes. Because this journey with Jesus, I want to promise you, it's good to have a quote-unquote quiet time in your morning, but Jesus wants a whole lot more than 7 minutes of our day or 30 minutes of our day or 60 minutes of our day. He wants to walk with us throughout our day, constantly coaching us with wisdom. I want us to understand that better. It will totally change our journey, where we're going. Now, the other piece of this is in our marriages and our parenting. If you're a single parent or if you're married, it's tough raising kids. I got 3. These guys coming up, Scott and Meredith, they've got kids of all ages, and they got a bunch of kids back here that we entrust to invest to them as they head up this ministry of our elementary kids. So as they come on up, I want you guys to lock in on this and pull some things out that can grow you in wisdom in terms of parenting. So if you would, welcome Scott and Meredith Mann. All right. Well, thank you, guys. I'm going to pull up a chair and take some notes myself, so bring it.
All right.
Well, good morning. I'm going to start y'all off with a little story. This is a true story. It happened several years ago. Scott and I were in McDonald's. Y'all know it. If you have kids, you've been there, Franklin Square, the play place, right? We're having lunch. Our kids are up in the tower, and they're playing. All of a sudden, Everly comes running down, and she is screaming. She's in pain. Another kid that was there had bitten her. And so the mom of the kid is over there, and she's trying to take care of her kid, and she looks visibly upset. And I can tell that, she's apologetic, and she's sorry for what happened. And Scott's consoling Everly, and we're trying to make sure she's okay. The mom takes her kid, and she leaves. I think, all right, everything's good. Everly's fine. She's not bleeding. She's okay. She's going to be all right. So she goes back up in there, and she starts playing with Raleigh and Ryder. Scott and I are talking. We're just having a good time. Our kids are playing. Everly comes running back down, screaming again. This mom had decided to come back in to McDonald's, bring her kid back in to go up into the tower and bite Everly a second time. So there's the mom with the kid. There's Scott trying to console Everly. And I'm standing there, and I'm hearing this little voice in my head. You need to go confront that mother. You need to give her a piece of your mind. You need to tell her how you feel. And y'all know where I'm going with this. Y'all can say it with me. I went full on mama bear on this woman, right? I got in her face. I went up to her. I said, who do you think you are? Your kid bit my little girl, and you brought him back in to do it again? You got no business being in here, lady. You need to take your kid, and you need to leave. I felt justified. I felt vindicated.
All right, hold on. I'm going to call a timeout here. It's Super Bowl Sunday. I can call a sports analogy timeout here. Timeout. So let's freeze frames. Let's stay right there. We're coming back to this story in just a minute, okay? And as she told that story, you guys might have found yourself in that same experience. You might have had that same feeling, and you might have felt justified. So, freeze frame. It resolves later, I promise, so don't get too excited. Also, don't make Meredith mad. Anyway, all right, so everybody in here probably has something to do with kids. So picture in your mind, if you were a mom, a dad, a grandparent, a stepmom, a foster mom, a den leader, a small group leader, if you're the weird uncle, you know who you are. Just picture in your head the kids that are in your life right now. Just picture them in your head. Now, those kids that you're picturing in your head, do you have an end goal for them? Do you have a successful picture at the end of their life from kids? And it doesn't matter where you're along the way. If those kids are babies or if they're teenagers right now, picture in your mind, raise your hand if you have an end goal, a picture of success in their mind. And maybe it looks like this. Let's put it up here. Some successful people up there, right? Is that picture of success, is it fame? Is it fortune? Is it power? is it whatever that picture may be that you have in your head for those kids. All right. Now, we at Vision Church believe in God, right? And so raise your hand if you had a picture of success for your kids. Raise your hand if you think God has a plan for your kids. I believe that. I believe he does. All right. And then this last point, let's keep our hands down. Do you ever think that your parenting style or the things that we say and do, the things, how we react to things, do we ever subvert God's plan for your kid's life? Are we ever hindering God's plan for your life? And I don't think anybody in here wants to parent unwisely or be a friend of a kid in an unwise manner. So let's check out. Pastor Matt's already alluded to it right now, but James 3:13-16 talks about two kinds of wisdom. And as I read this, I want you to just picture those kids in your head and how you react to stuff. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, don't boast about it, or don't deny the truth. It means let's be real about what's going on. But such, in quotation marks, such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice.
Wow. So we don't want to be like that, but we're going to talk about some parenting styles in light of that. Let's put up that first slide, and we all know what this one is, right? The helicopter parent, right? This is the parent that hovers and micromanages every thought and action their child does. They don't let them get too far away from them, right? And how about this second one right here? Everybody heard of this one? The lawnmower parent? The parent that goes out in front of all their kids and mows down every obstacle that might get in their way so they have a clear path in life. Nothing in their way. And then, of course, we already talked about this one, the mama bear.
And Papa Bear.
Oh, that's right.
Aren't exempt. No,
Dads are
Papa.
not exempt. Oh, look at
Isn't
the
that
mama
sweet?
bear with their cubs.
how we
That's
are.
not what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about, right? Teeth are showing, claws are out. This mama bear is ready to prance. This mama bear is ready to strike and take out anything that might possibly get in the way or inconvenience their child.
All right. So that's the worldly wisdom side of things. James keeps talking. Okay? So let's go on to verses 17 and 18 of James 3. Talks about heavenly wisdom. It says, but the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. Again, imagine yourself in these parenting situations. First of all, pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, and good fruit, referring to the fruits of the Spirit. Impartial. All right, can we be impartial with our kids? And sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness or right standing with God, right?
Yeah, I want to unpack those fruits of the Spirit. And we know that if we're Christians, we do have God's Holy Spirit within us. And those fruits are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, gentleness, and self-control. So we want to make sure we are using those in our lives.
Okay. We didn't see a whole lot of those in the first part of your story. I'm sorry.
Not at all.
The self-control part. So, okay, I know you guys are curious how this ended up. So we're going to call time in on this. Are you ready? You sure you're okay?
I'm okay.
Okay.
All right.
So time in on our story. Wrap that story up for us, please.
All right. So I got done saying these wonderful, kind, loving words to this woman, right? And Scott literally had to get in between us. He got in my face and told me to go sit down, that he had the situation handled.
She loves when I do that.
No. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear anything he had to say. I was mad. I wanted to kick this woman in the teeth. I was so angry. I wanted to protect my kid, and I wanted to show my kid that I was going to protect them. I didn't want to hear what he had to say, and I don't remember if it was on the ride home or if she had left, but when Scott finally, the dust settled and he was loving and kind and gentle with me and explained to me in his great wisdom, he explained to me the error of my ways, and I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear anything he had to say. But as he's talking to me, one thing he said that resonated with me, he said, how would you feel if that woman next week or next month or next year walked through the doors of Vision and saw your face and remembered that day and how you reacted and what you said to her and how you said those things to her? And she turned around and walked out. What if that was the day that she was going to hear the life-saving news of Jesus Christ? How would you feel?
Pretty sobering, right? So the question arises: how do we react, and how do we teach our kids to react in the face of adversity, in the face of obstacles? Do we react with earthly wisdom, or do we act with heavenly wisdom? And you alluded, you said, my great wisdom, it's not mine. I'm just doing what God tells us to do. So, or I'm trying to. And I can hear you talking to me right now. You're like, you don't understand. I'm going to protect my kid no matter what. Well, this is a sliding scale, of course, we're talking about. When kids are babies, we're much more protective, protect them from adversity. But as they head toward adulthood, we need to be preparing them for adversity and using that heavenly wisdom along the way to discern when we need to do that. So my question is for you: if we really believe in God's plan for your kid's life, are we praying? Are we seeking out? Are we using methods in our parenting that causes our kids to have an easy life, or causes them to have an effective life? See, our kids are going to have problems no matter what. It's guaranteed. Jesus told us in the Bible, you will have problems. And so, how do we teach them to react? How do we react when they get bullied? When the coach benches them? When they get a bad grade at school? Do we go after the teacher? How about when they get in an argument, or even with a sibling? How do we react? Or
bitten.
Or when they get bitten?
Yeah. How
do we react when they get bitten? So, if we have that picture in mind of success, if we believe in God's plan for their life, I want to show you a metaphor. We take one of those successful people up there, an athlete, a successful athlete, and we're going to watch a video in just a second. This is a person at the pinnacle of their success, things they've been preparing for their entire life, and apply the things we just said. So watch this video for just a second.
At the gun, they go over the first hurdle, and Rollins has a slight lead. Ali is there as well, and Tiffany Porter. But here is Rollins taking command. Final hurdle, Rollins wins it. It looked like it might have been Ali for the silver. We'll see. It was too tight to call, and Christy Castlin, it is a U.S. sweep, the first sweep.
I don't know about you, but I love track and field. I used to run track as a kid, but what a momentous day, right? But those Olympic athletes, they didn't get where they were or where they are by their parents interfering with their coach's training, their parents making demands that the stakes be lowered or the rules be changed in order to make it easier for their kids. They didn't go out onto the track during practice and knock down the hurdles, so they didn't have to jump over them.
I'm sorry. I picture at the Olympics, the mom running on the track and knocking the hurdles. Sorry, go ahead. Knocking the hurdles down.
Yeah, these athletes didn't get to the Olympics by having an easy road paved for them. Now, in my story, Everly was only 5. I certainly, I'm not telling that story to say I should have let her fight her own battles and solve the problem on her own. We had to protect her, but the point is the way I reacted was completely with earthly wisdom. In essence, it was a demonic spirit. I know that voice wasn't from God, that voice in my head. And so I tell myself, if I had continued down that path, I would have been setting an example for my kids on how to react when they face adversity. How do you react when something bad happens to you? And I would have been setting up a pattern of going and fighting all my kids' battles for them. And I don't want to do that. I want them to be able to learn how to face adversity and overcome their fears and solve their own problems. So that leads us to our bottom line right here. It's don't rob your kids of the opportunity to face their fears, overcome obstacles, and solve their own problems. We need to be working with our kids, not for them. We need to be their safety net, absolutely. We need to be their guardrails, keep them in line. But we have to be able to let them fall. We have to be able to let them fail.
And there's a philosopher out there. It's one of my favorite philosophers, Dory the fish.
I love Dory.
And there's a scene up here. This is when Marlin has promised his son Nemo, right, that he's not going to let anything happen to him. And so Dory the fish's wise words says, "So that's a funny thing to promise. You can't never let anything happen to them. Nothing would ever happen to him." Not much fun for little Harpo. She always messed up his name. It's okay. But so here's what I want you to take from today. This is our tagline. So two things to think about. Are we reacting with earthly wisdom or heavenly wisdom? And number two, do our choices have eternal consequences? They can have eternal consequences. So I want everybody to repeat after me. I want you to say, react to adversity.
React to adversity.
In light of eternity.
In light of eternity.
One more time. React to adversity in light of eternity. Take that home today. Now, guys, we can solve some problems for our kids, especially when they're young, but as they get older, it's not our job to solve all those problems, but it's our job to give them tools. And you say, "Scott, my tool belt's empty. I don't know how to do this." So I'm going to give some tools that we use every day in our house, almost every day in our house. We mess up. Don't think we're perfect. We don't have all the answers, but we do have the tools, and we'd like to give those to you today. So number one, prayer. Prayer works. And question yourself, am I praying for an easy life for my kids or an effective life for my kids? Number two, getting God's word every single day. Getting God's word. Take James, after this series is over, take James, put it in your back pocket, pull it out, look at it, read it, dwell on it, so that it becomes part of your response automatically. And then we have two things here, electronic tools that we can give to you. One of them is the ParentCue app. It is a free app. It comes in the Android and the Apple formats. And download this, get it on your phone, get on your tablet. It's if you when you leave here today, it's on the Vision app. If you forget what we're talking about here, but it's on the Vision app. Download it. This thing comes with blogs, articles, podcasts. It has conversations that you can have with your kids, and this is from baby all the way through teenagers. Okay, so get that ParentCue app. It's a big help.
And also mentioned in your takeaway card is also the Right Now Media. If you don't have this, you need to get it. It is amazing. It is an incredible resource that's packed full of videos from every Bible subject you could ever imagine. And there's so much stuff for families and kids. We use it all the time at home. We've used it from when the kids were real little. There's little cartoons. And then as they get older, we're watching one right now, Francis Chan on the book of Mark. And our kids just love it. So you can go to the Vision website and go into Contact Us, put in your email address on the comments, say Right Now Media. They'll send you a link. Anyone that goes to Vision can get that link. It will be free. You guys need to get it. It is incredible. It is awesome.
It really is. So, guys, when we're about to bring Matt back up here in just a second, but we don't have all the answers, but we know who does. This week, we know you guys are going to be watching us, and we're going to get attacked, or we're going to get messed up. I don't want to pretend like we're perfect in this. We're not, but we're all in this together. We love you, and we love your kids.
Wow. Well, Scott and Mary, thank you guys. You just stay. And I hear that, and I really, even as I saw your notes ahead of time, I thought about that contrast between protection and preparation. And certainly as parents, I mean, that's something that we need to grapple with. I mean, it's something that me and Meg grapple with all the time with our 3 teenagers. And like you said, it's a sliding scale. You know, when they're tiny, there's a lot more protection. Now that our kids are older, you know, there's a little bit less protection, and there's more letting them kind of get prepared through what they go through in life. And it kind of hit me sitting here listening. Honestly, that's what God does with us. Even as we pray for wisdom and try to find wisdom, a lot of times God looks at us, he says, on this one, I'm not going to protect you as much as I used to because I want to prepare you for something. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you, but God knows that when we go through things in life, it's like it takes us through a maturation process if we go through it correctly, that he can mature us and grow us. And if he protected us all the time, we wouldn't be getting prepared for anything. So with this whole concept of wisdom, I want us to dig into this week. and ongoing, that we would take, we'd take that challenge, or we'd get a teammate, or, we'd be on this journey together using these resources. We say, God, in our parenting, in our walk, in our church, God, prepare us for greater things. We want this wisdom truly to change us.